Were you born on Nantucket?
I was.
Can you describe your childhood?
I am third of 8 children. My father was a fisherman, went out in a dragger, and he would go out for 7 or 8 days, come home for 2 nights, and then out again. It was a difficult life in a way, in that my mom brought us up with all 8 children, and my dad would come in from fishing, and he was in a very bad storm on his maiden voyage with one of his boats, the Gladys and Mary, and we were very lucky that he was alive and all of them were saved. The boat went down in the water and stoved up and came back, and my dad hit his head quite badly, and one of his fishermen, his helpers, pulled him up, and I remember him coming home with a cut on his head. And so it was not an easy life for my dad. It was fine for my mom because we were home and not on the water. But it's icy. I can remember one time he came in, his boat, all the masts and everything was full of ice because it was so cold. And he did not go out then. That was like December, and he didn't go out again until March because we didn't have the harbor was frozen and they couldn't go out. So it was a good life because I loved being part of my family.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I just think it was very loving, and as I said to you the other day, we were very faith filled. We went to church all the time. Evenings we said the rosary every night, which was a special prayer, and so that is, I think, gave me my faith in God and. Faith, as I said to you the other day, in some of the difficulties that I had or illnesses of my son and my husband.
You told us that your child died. Was it difficult for you?
Well, as I said to you, he was HIV positive. He lived with that for 18 years. He was healthy to the end. He did have to take pills that they did to what I was going to say, slow down, I guess, the disease. But he did not die a death of an AIDS patient. He was healthy. He had just gotten a new job. He was a wonderful dresser, great smile, and he always gave himself a birthday party on his birthday, but he also celebrated the day that he found out that he had been infected, and he would have a party for that. And he would celebrate each year that he lived that long. Now, 18 years is a long time, and he died in 2003. So they've come a long way with all of the medicines now for HIV and AIDS patients.
That's interesting. Um, did your husband live here?
We're both first-generation Nantucketers. October 12th, 1954 was our first date, and we were married for 50-some-odd years, 55, 56 years, when he passed away. And he went fishing with Mr. Rolf Sherland, and he was on the Carl Henry. And Mr. Sherland was from Norway. And after that, he went with my dad and was engineer on the Robert Joseph. He interviewed for the electric company and got a job as a lineman. There were no ladders in those days, like they've got now. They had these spikes on their shoes or boots, and they would go up the pole that way. And then he worked himself up to be supervisor and then ended up vice president of the electric company. We would go out in the evenings and check all the wires or trees each night and would write it down, what needed to be done.
And you told us that this island changed by many ways. Can you describe
it? It has. I think a lot of the people have not changed so much, but and in that way, then I also do think in the last few years, I'm feeling that the people that are visiting feel they're entitled, whereas Nantucketers always work together.
We heard that you had a catering company. Why did you retire?
Well, first off, I worked in catering for 40 years, and then my husband was not well. He needed my help, and my daughter took it over, and she's run it since, I think, she's probably had it for 15, 20 years now.
What inspired you to start catering?
Well, I think I also told you that I did a lot of waitressing and hostessing in restaurants. And when I was spending 60 hours away from home, I thought, this is not what I should be doing for my children. I started my catering business. I thought, I can do this. So I did. And nothing was frozen or packaged. It was all made fresh.
Do you like having your family close by you?
I love having my family close by me, and I love to have them in the house for, we do Easter, a little Christmas, which is the Feast of the Epiphany, and we do Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving dinner, usually at my house. Somebody made us a 7-foot table, and then we also had a friend who said to my husband, Jack, it must sound like thunder at your table with all those fingernails scratching on the table when it's mealtime.
Like I got inspired by you, by your faith. Why is it so important?
When I went through my husband's illness and my son's, I always said, if God gave it to me, God's going to get me through it. Well, the one thing, too, though, Nadia, was that my dad would go fishing, and he would come in, and as I say, he'd come in the first night from New Bedford after taking the fish out. The next day, first thing he would do is go down to church and say his prayers and do whatever, and thank God that he got home safe. And he would bring fish to the priest. He also did a lot of giving fish to other people. There was one family that they lost their dad young. And one of his sons said to me, if it wasn't for your dad, we would have been gone hungry. But because my dad would bring them lots of fish, or maybe even help them out, financially. I don't know that for sure, because my dad's been long gone. What do I do for the community? I'm an airport commissioner. I am a volunteer at the school. I am a Eucharistic minister and a lector in my church. I started out in the 70s as school committee. I was 6 years on the Chamber of Commerce. I was 10 years on a Safe Place. And now I'm just cutting back a little bit as I've gotten older.
That's great. What do you want to be known for?
I think that hopefully that I raised a good family and was a good wife and mother, and that my children have become good citizens of Nantucket.
What advice would you give to other people if you could?
I think to live your life in the proper way and to try to, it's not easy to grow up anymore in Nantucket. But I do think you need to have faith, just behave and think of your community, think of the world, and try to do your best.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Nadia and Ruby.
One thing that I liked about Jeanette is her faith in God and how she depends everything on God.
One thing I liked about Jeanette was her personality, and she was happy.